Hello everyone, and welcome back to Warships Blitz with Terry. Sorry for this week being a bit of a chaos, but yeah, as you might have seen in the post, last weekend was all over the place. I didn't get to record anything, hence, well, I'm trying to scrape by a little bit of time here and there to actually get a video out this week. And the first one that I was actually planning to have, so I did have the footage, I just didn't have the time to record the reviews and everything else. So the first thing that I wanted to do on Monday, and it's coming a little late, is this. The Tier 10 Premium Italian cruiser, the Napoli, or Naples. So I'm named after the city, obviously. Yes, it's another premium, but trust me, this one's interesting. When I tried the ship first, it was actually bugged. And you might have seen, that's why I was initially planning not to actually do a review until it was fixed, but it was fixed, I think, last Friday. So it's all good. And we can take a look at the ship. Now, obviously, as with most Tier 10 ships, this ship didn't exist. I don't know if this is based on any particular design, but haven't really found anything. What is interesting, however, about the ship is the guns and the ammunition choice that these guns are having. Now this thing has, let's have a very brief look here. This thing has 254mm main guns. It's a very, very unusual caliber that you don't find very often. And in fact, there were guns of this caliber made by the Italians. Well, technically they were made by the British for the Italians in, I think, around about late and early 1900s. And these were used in pre-dreadnoughts, if I'm not mistaken. So there were definitely a couple of ships that had these sort of guns, not all that many of them. And one of them was actually sold to the Japanese, who then proceeded to use that ship in the bombardment of Port Arthur and it was even in the line on the Battle of Tsushima. So these things got around. But that's not all there is. These things have secondaries, 152mm secondaries, which is something you usually find on battleships. These secondaries, however, are firing semi-armor piercing. They don't fire HE or AP as you would find on a German battleship, but SAP, 150mm SAP. But that's not all. There are also the 90mm auto secondaries, which are dual-purpose guns, effectively AA guns. Now, in reality, while these guns existed, they never had SAP shells. But in-game, they do. And this was where the original bug was, because these things used to do the same amount of damage, alpha damage as the 150s, which means that this ship would have had effectively 24 150mm secondaries, which was glorious, but not quite what was intended. Although I have to say, even now that they fixed it, it's still a great ship. So, all these out of the way, what do we have here? Let's compare this ship. What do I have in the comparison list? Yes, I have actually, where's the Hindi in here? Napoli and Venezia. We obviously have to compare because these are the two Tier 10 Italian cruisers. Let's have a quick look. The first thing that stands out is that the Napoli gets the same fuel smoke as the Venezia does. She does not get the defensive AA or the precise aiming, because the Napoli is very much not an Italian ship. I mean, it says there, but it doesn't play like one. I can guarantee you that much. She gets the auto secondaries, and she doesn't actually have the SAP shells on the main. We'll see that in a second. She also gets the secondary overload skill, or not any old secondary overload. That is 3 charges of a secondary overload 2, which increases both range and reload speed by 25%. All right, you can probably see and maybe hear from the tone in my voice where this is going, if you have any idea about my preferences of playstyles. Anyway, let's compare the two. The Napoli has a noticeably larger hit point pool than the Venezia and has better armor than the Venezia as well. The Napoli isn't quite as quick as the Venezia, but has a significantly better engine than the Venezia, with a 16-second time to full speed. The Napoli is a bit faster on the max traverse, but a bit slower on the rudder. Not all very noticeable though, except for the engine. The guns, the main guns, obviously on the Venezia would be either armor piercing or semi-armor piercing. On the Napoli, we have the 254 millimeters or of larger caliber, and as such they do a bit more armor piercing damage, but they can't do SAP. What they can do is fire AG shells. Why you would want that, except for if you are in a point-blank fight with a destroyer, is beyond me, but she does, right? So this is one of the Italian premiums that actually doesn't get SAP on the mains. She does, however, get SAP on the secondaries. So the 150s have a base range of 7 kilometers. And yes, these are semi-armor piercing 150s with the 450 points of alpha damage. The auto secondaries, albeit being of extremely low caliber, have actually a base range of 6.3 kilometers. Now, which ship does that remind me of? Something that has extremely long-range auto secondaries. The Odin, exactly. Although obviously lower caliber and it's SAP. The Napoli also gets torpedoes. These are technically, for all intents and purposes, the same torpedoes you get on the Venezia, only that you get one more launcher for the price of 10-second longer reload. Other than that, they're completely identical. So the typical Italian great angles, long-range torpedoes. The AA on the Napoli is noticeably worse than on the Venezia, plus she doesn't get the defensive AA skill. This is not an anti-air ship. What is also very interesting on the Napoli is the surface detection, with a base surface detection of under 9 kilometers, which is pretty good. Which brings us to the setup. Now, this might look a little confusing at first, but trust me, this works, at least the way I do things. So, in the first slot, because we're not getting the... okay, before we get into that, let me drop a word on my thoughts on this. Well, obviously it's a brawler, right? We don't need to beat around the bush with it. I mean, something with this amount of secondary firepower, even if it's a cruiser, is a brawler. This, in my opinion, is what the German supercruiser should have been. Now, she does not get the German special module, but we can use the secondary battery mode 1 just for 15% faster reload on the 150s. Do remember that these have a pretty good reload to begin with for 6 seconds, and you still get the secondary overload. You could also use the auxiliary mod for getting a bit more range out of these and getting a bit more AA range, but this is really not an AA ship in tier 10, so this is, in my opinion, the better choice. Now, in slot 2, usually, on German cruisers, you'd find the steering. On pretty much everything else, you'd normally find the propulsion mod. Now, you don't need that on the Napoli, because that thing has actually really, really good engines. Like I said, 16 seconds base acceleration to full speed is not bad. Which means the third slot is now free for the concealment mod. And I think this is the first time that I've used the concealment mod in a cruiser outside the Japanese cruiser line. But, once again, trust me on this one, there is method to my madness. We haven't even looked at the elite bonus, so let's do that quickly. Where is it? It's over here. You could get main battery traverse speed, but why would you want that? If you can get 10% off the secondary battery reload. Because that is where it goes. Now, I have put the historical camo on because I presume that everybody... I think the weird Legionnaire camo was somewhere in the thing. And this is actually, for stats-wise, a good camo for this ship because it gives range, both on torpedoes and main batteries. It gives torpedo speed and firing range on the auto secondaries, which is not something to sneeze at all. Now... But if you can't stand sticking a big flagpole onto your ship and making it look like something out of I don't know, something out of red and gold decorative draping, then the historical camouflage is very, very pretty and gives us range on both main battery and torpedoes. It gives us traverse, which is good because we're only using the lower module for the steering. And gives us better surface detection, which is also good, because this is a stealth build. So, with all these modifications, we're going to have a very quick look at the stats now. Now, 44,000 hit points is not bad for a tier 10 cruiser. I've got the turn time down to 11.3 seconds, which could be better, but could also be worse. The max traverse is pretty darn decent, so she is really maneuverable, actually, once you get the rudder shifted. The main guns, you know, it's really not about the main guns, honestly. You've got 2 super firing turrets forward, so if you need to go bow into something, then that's what you're going to use. So the turret traverse isn't all that important on these things. The secondaries is what it's all about. So I've got these 152mm secondaries down to a 4.59 second base reload. And that is before the secondary overload kicks in. With a 7km range. And we've got the auto secondaries at 3 seconds base reload with a 6.3km range. And remember, auto secondaries are on both sides of the ship and can be fired simultaneously. Or will be fired, actually, because it's the ship that does it. You don't have to do it by hand. And we have a torpedo range of almost 10 kilometers and a surface detection of 7.6, which means that this thing can stealth torp. Plus, we have fuel smokes. All right. So we've got all the tools in our hand to build with this complete madman setup. I mean, this is a meme boat, right? This is a completely bonkers ship, and it deserves to be played as such. Commander skills. Nothing special here. We don't need the battlefield support because we don't get AA anyway. We can use the artillery maintenance expert. Why not? I mean, you could also use preheating, actually, on this thing. You don't have precise aiming, so you can take survivalist. I have the exploit weakness in here. You could also take generalist, really. It doesn't make an awful lot of difference. Same here, you don't need the marksman skill, so fully prepared it is. The adrenaline rush makes a lot of sense on this ship, so that's what we're going with. Obviously, the close quarters expert. I do have the honor seeker in here. You could take compartment maintenance if you're so inclined. I tend to not feel this level 10 very much. You would definitely want the APCS because the armor piercing is very good. This ship can put the hurt on. So that's sort of the setup. But we're just going with a 10-point commander because, you know, getting to this level 11 and 12 takes actually a lot of grinding. So not everybody has these available, which means we're going to go with it. All right. So yeah, complete bonkers ship. Plays like a German, is Italian, with guns that have the same caliber as something that was built by the British for the Italians and then sold it to the Japanese and fired at the Russian Empire. So, how about that for internationalism? Let's go. In the first battle, we are playing on Epicenter on Cage. And we're up against Yamato, Kurfürst, Montana, Lion, Zhao, Worcester, and Shimakaze. Now, why in the world am I putting a concealment mod on something that now has effectively the same surface detection as its secondary range? Because, well, it's a relatively big ship, and it's still a cruiser, and you do need to get, while she is quite sturdy, you do need to get yourself into, apologies for the construction noise outside, you do need to get yourself into position. So, Cage, there's one Shima on the enemy team and there's one Shima on our team. So what we're going to be doing here is using our concealment to get ourselves into a position from which we have angles behind the center island. So if the enemy Shima decides to get into the center cap and hide behind that island, which is an ideal position for something like a Shimakaze, because from there she can effectively torpedo harass the whole line on our side, then we can do something about it. And given that we're not instantly spotted at the onset of the battle and completely murdered by Yamatos at ranges where we can't even fire back, this is the tactical play that we're making. So I'm going towards that island right ahead of me, which I can use against some shielding from incoming battleship fire, but I'm not spotted, and I have a fuel smoke in case I need to get out. I am still loading the armor piercing because it's 250mm. Unless you're point blank range against destroyers, it's usually the better choice. Okay, we've got something to shoot at. It's also Kurfürst. We may as well start shooting because no one can see me from here as is until somebody actually pops up. And there's the Shimakaze. So, secondary overload active, and we now have a 9km range on these 150s, and we start opening up. The enemy Worcester has a similar idea. Now, unfortunately, the Shima is getting out of range, so we'll see if we can blap him with the main guns. Yeah, that has hurt. And I think he just ran into some torpedoes, so once the mains are reloaded, we're going to take another shot at the Shima. See, but I think he's literally sailing out of range, and at this point the enemy Shima is about dead, which means that now I can stop shooting. Then my detection will go down again, because the friendly Shima does not look like he's particularly interested in going into the center cup anywhere near. And I am obviously under fire from an enemy Worcester, so I'm holding my fire here. Just not damage controlling a single fire. Yeah, that hurt. Okay, enemy Shimakaze is down and dead. So let's get out of the HE spam from the Worcester. We've taken an awful lot of... Okay, that's enough fires. Thank you very much now. We've taken a pretty big hit there from one of the battleships, but that's okay. We've got a lot of hit points, and we've still got 3 fuel smokes. So first things first, while our Shima finds his courage, there's nothing anymore that can really hurt him in the center cup, and I have the concealment to actually rush the center cup together with the Shima, given that the enemy Shima is gone. And the next big problem for our Shima, obviously, is enemy cruisers doing the same thing on the other side. So my next objective, while I'm lining up some torpedoes at just some random position, there's the Worcester. Can we maybe the Yama over there? Let's drop some torpedoes in that direction. Well, I mean, just keep in mind that we are undetected. I'm using the fuel smoke to cover my turn, or shooting at some stuff. Worcester is over there. Zhao is a bit closer and is closer to our Shima. So we're going to give Shima a little bit of covering fire against the enemy Zhao here, once my main guns have reloaded. And then we're going to get ourselves out of here again, because we have captured the center cup and there's no reason for us to hang around in here. Okay, enemy Zhao is on relatively low hit points. He has bumped into the enemy Monty. Let's see if we can get another shot off, but I think the Monty got in the way. So let's heal up. Oh, we've hit something with our torpedoes. And there's the Worcester again. Now Zhao has buggered off. So Worcester is now obviously the biggest threat for the Shima in the center. Shima is contesting that position, but we want to make sure that that Worcester isn't coming anywhere near him. So while we're circling around and dodging some more battleship fire, we are holding the center cup, and there's nothing they can do to contest it. The only thing they can do to contest it is if Worcester had an opportunity to dislodge the Shima here. Other than that, Shima can just sit there and do what I said on the onset, and can just go and torpedo harass everybody. And these battleships can't push. So I'm heading straight over once again using my concealment. I can just sail around here, dropping some stealth torpedoes onto the enemy ships if needed. And there's the Worcester. Okay, so Worcester is... let's see if I can get a torpedo drop. Maybe Yama comes in. I don't know. Just in case he does. Maybe some torpedoes in there. Well, I'm spotted anyway, so... man, drop some torpedoes, and then we're going to get ourselves into a gunfight with the Worcester. Now, the Worcester is obviously running. But yeah, I have the secondary range too, and that's even the auto secondaries lining up the Worcester. I am using the fuel smoke here, not because of Worcester, but I am outside. I think I'm outside radar range of Worcester, and I don't want to be blocked by the battleships. Now I think the Zhao is coming in, but the Shima is concealed behind the island, and Zhao doesn't have the usability. Like, doesn't have a hydro, doesn't have a radar, so there should be relatively little that he can do against Shima. Now Worcester is out of my secondary range. And it has switched to the armor piercing, which is generally not a bad choice, really. And hopefully is banking on some battleship support. But he seems to be coming around and getting back into secondary range. So yeah, Worcester, are you sure you want to have a secondary gunfight? You want to have a gunfight in secondary range with me? I mean, I'm not complaining, right? But obviously you can't underestimate a Worcester you having the armor piercing mode. But Napoli has pretty decent armor. And he has seen that I'm not stupid with my fires, so now he's in auto secondary range, and I don't even have the secondary overload active, but he now also has to dodge my torpedoes. The auto secondaries are bouncing quite a fair bit, as you can see. They're really more useful against destroyers. But the thing is, even against other ships that are more better armored, the sheer volume of fire is still going to do something. So at this point, we've pretty much won, because the enemy team has no way of getting into the center cup. There's only a minute left. So I'm just going to have some fun here and see if I can still maybe do some damage and just generally keep these guys occupied while we're running the last minute down. But they would have to kill all of us. And we've got like one battleship in the rear. We've got two battleships, Shimakaze, so we can just fire some guns and make use of our secondary overload that we've still got laying around, because we've effectively won this game. So now it's just some farming shenanigans. Oh, there's a lion. It's on relatively low hit points. Maybe I can take the lion down. Let's try this. So shots out. I'm out of health. I'm out of heals. So final torpedo drop on the Yamato. The Lion has survived, so whoever is going to shoot at me next is going to kill me. Can I get another shot at the Lion off? No, Lion actually gets me. It's okay, we've still got some torpedoes against the Yamato away, and once again we've kept them busy for another 30 seconds or so, in which they were not. I mean, they have managed to sink one of our other battleships, but they just don't have the points income because we've been holding the center cup the whole game, pretty much. And yeah, the Shimakaze could run riot, and Shima has actually taken out the Lion. Perfect. So if you're in a cruiser, these sort of plays to give your destroyers clearance on that center island, yeah, there you go. Shimakaze takes the MVP. Is super important. So just make sure that nobody can get themselves into a flanking position, and just run them down. So we haven't really used the secondaries an awful lot, but you can oftentimes actually do as much damage with the secondaries as you can with the main guns on this thing. So let's go again. And in the second battle, we're back in epicenter mode. This time it's on the chain map, and it's a 5v5. So we're up against Montana, Missouri, Drake, an Östergötland, and a Kitakaze. Off we go. We do have a Kitakaze of our own, and we have a Friesland, which is also a very, very nice little destroyer, even though it's a tier 9, but these things have no problems holding their own in tier 10 games. Anyway, once again, we can do similar things. We've got the concealment, which means we can, and this is a bot carrier, so they're not scouting. If this wasn't a bot carrier, this would be a different sort of setup. But team calls out, capture the center cup, and yeah, I agree. Let's do that. And with the concealment build, you are actually reasonably certain that you can get yourself into positions from which, if anything spots you, you're in range to unleash everything you have on them. And it makes it relatively easy to disengage as well, because, you know, you have a pretty good surface detection. So anyway, we're rolling up into just kind of into a more cautious position here, and to see where everything is. We do have the Friesland, who shouldn't be afraid to go into the center cup, although the Friesland does not have torpedoes, but I'm here to give fire support, so that should be fine. I'm unspotted, which means that there's obviously nothing that could have reached the center line yet. But I'm not sure if Friesland is going into the middle. He seems to be a bit hesitant. Friesland doesn't have torpedoes, so that could be, and doesn't have the utility to avoid them. So that could be a bit of the hesitation. Okay, I'm spotted, and it's the bot gearing. So let's get that thing out of the way. I know it's a bot, but there's also a Drake, better target. But since I've got the bot gearing in range here, I can use the fuel smoke and the secondary overload. Although the bots do have the unfortunate tendency to spot in it, as you can see, I was occasionally flushing up again. Now Drake is going defensive in his smoke, so I'm dropping some torpedoes on him. Bot gearing is dead, and that should give us the center cup. And then now we're just unloading onto the Drake and see if we can. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, right where I thought he was going to be. Okay, a couple shots at the Montana. And we have run into an island, I think. There we got two torpedoes on the Drake, yeah. There's Kitakaze. And something was briefly detecting me there. Okay, there are some torpedoes, so let's avoid those. And now keep bullying the Kitakaze out of the cup. So there's a friendly Kitakaze who is also interested, and that means the enemy Kitakaze is busy, so we can unload some shots into the general direction of that thing. And then we're gonna head back into the capture circle to make sure that the Drake doesn't capture. We can use the torpedo indicator to find out where the Drake is, or where the Drake rather is going, while giving some parting shots to the enemy Kitakaze and making sure that he stays out. And then we'll just back off slowly behind that island. No one's shooting at us right now. Drake seems to be making a move, so I'm dropping torpedoes preemptively and then just unloading into that thing while turning back into forward, because that's a dead Drake anyway. Yeah, he might have sent torpedoes out. Yeah, there come the torpedoes, single fire, knew that was coming, that's why I was going forward already. These are going to miss, but mine are not going to miss, because you went out broadside behind an island and you are now dead, which means we are holding all 3 caps and are almost 400 points ahead, so we can go on a bit of a rampage as we are. There's still 2 battleships, but they obviously have nothing to do. Nothing that they can do, really. There's still a Kitakaze around somewhere. There comes some shots from the other side. Yeah, something's spotting me. It must be the Kitakaze. I'm not sure where he is. Either that or the Östergötland. There's been around here somewhere. Okay, I'm just using a fuel smoke to... Oh, that's where he is. He went all the way around. Yeah, I can't be bothered. There's the Kitakaze. Okay, hello. I've used the fuel smoke because I was detected and I wanted to make sure that this guy doesn't have a torpedo lock on me. So he doesn't exactly know where I'm going. So I really have to dodge torpedoes. Now, obviously, that means he's now behind the island and he's probably going to stay there. There's the Missouri, and I am giving broadside to a battleship on my right, but it's relatively far away, and I have a Kitakaze to deal with. So let's get rid of that Kitakaze for now, while donking some armor piercing into the Missouri. There's really no reason not to use armor piercing, unless it's point blank against destroyers. But if you're point blank against destroyers and you have the secondary overload ready, you wouldn't be using the main guns anyway. So some torpedoes out just in case he makes any funny moves and decides that he wants to come out right now. No, doesn't look like. So let's give it a bit of a wider berth, such that I actually have a chance to get around. Okay. Kitakaze should have radar, right? Does it? No, can't. No, that's the Östergötland, right? Östergötland should have radar. Anyway, Kitakaze smokes up. And so we're slowing down because there might be torpedoes in the water. Oh, there he is. Yep, there are torpedoes in the water. And yes, he has messed it up. Yeah, that's not where I am, buddy. The auto secondaries are meanwhile working the Östergötland over as well behind me. So right now we're just going to use the secondaries to kill the Kitakaze because he's dumped all his torpedoes. He's dead. There's nothing he can do. There's nowhere he can go, and the auto secondaries can finish him up. And that leaves, there was a Monty out there. We are down to 3 ships, but that's okay because, well, there's literally nothing they can do. Yes, there is an Östergötland somewhere back there, but I don't know exactly where he is. And honestly, I can't be bothered right now. I'm having fun. If he becomes a problem, yeah, that shot is never gonna hit. That was the Montana, I think. The other battleship's been sailing all the way around. Okay, Östergötland is in the outer ring somewhere. But I'm done hunting destroyers. We're so far ahead on points that there's absolutely no way that they're going to do something about it. So I'm just going to farm the bot a little bit. Of course, as soon as I drop the torpedoes, the bot activates its magic bot powers and starts dodging them. That's fine. The secondaries are working them over. And you can see the auto secondaries already starting to do damage. Although, oh yeah, nice. Nice little citadel on that thing. Yeah, the auto secondaries can finish that up. If not, someone else is probably faster. Because, yeah, there's the Östergötland. Okay. I'm gonna go kill the Östergötland, but I think I don't have enough time anymore because we're about to win on points, and Yamato actually takes out the Taiho, but that's it already because that just brought the points counter over 1,000, and we've already won. So the Napoli, a very, very interesting Italian cruiser. It's an amazing ship in my opinion. Is it the most powerful ship? Is it another Smolensk? No, of course not. But if you like brawlers, and if you always wish that there was a great German brawling cruiser that was actually worthy of its name, that thing almost fits the bill because of this mental combination of things. Absolutely mental. You've got all the secondaries. The main guns are a bit more of an afterthought, but these main guns can do some serious damage also to battleships. So they're definitely worth using. It's just that the secondaries are just so much fun. And while the auto secondaries are not doing an awful lot of damage individual because they are just 90 millimeters, they don't have the greatest penetration, and they're firing semi-armor piercing, which obviously isn't going to get anywhere through any kind of armor. The sheer rate of fire means that they are just dropping shells left, right, and center on enemy superstructures and whatnot, and will eventually rack up the damage too. The 150s are pretty awesome. You've got great torpedoes, and you've got surface detection that you can use to get into positions. You've got the fuel smoke to get you out of positions again if you have to. It's an all-around amazing ship. If you come under concentrated air attack, not an awful lot you can do about it. Just, hang in there. If you get sunk, so be it. Then go into the next battle. But I absolutely love this ship, and if this comes out in a bundle, then I'll be the first one to get my hands on that thing, because that thing is just fun in so many ways. It's just fun. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time, which may or may not be. I'll see if I can get a second video out this week. I'm not sure. I still have material. I just need to get the recording done, so we'll see about it. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.